layers are one of the most powerful features of any good image editing program that you might use, especially Photoshop. And taking a look at this image, this is what your project or exercise will ultimately look like when you're finished with this exercise. If you notice in the layers palette right here in the lower right, you have a number of different layers. Okay, you have the layers, the berries text layer. If I turn the eyeball on and off, you can see the word berries disappears, or I can make it reappear by turning the eyeball on and off. My initials, on and off. Red berries, off and on. Okay, this little icon right here means I prepared this on a different computer and it was using a different text at that point, and so it changed slightly when I opened it in Photoshop Elements on this computer. The berries themselves right here are right here on this layer. Okay, now what does this all mean? It means I can rearrange these layers very easily. If let's say I take this layer, the berries text layer right here, and drag it down below this background layer. Let's see what happens. If I drag it down below that background layer, let up on it, suddenly this layer right here, this background layer, is hiding all of this image right here. So sometimes you want to keep in mind that if you lost something, you need to look in your layers, especially if you have many layers active. Look where it might be. You may need to just rearrange your layers. Okay, so I drag this back up again like there. Now it becomes visible, and so forth. I have my moose layer right up here. Okay, if I go on that layer, I can then use my move tool, and I can just move that image around independently of any of the other layers. So I could position up here, I could put it down here, I could put it here, wherever I want. It's totally independent. When I'm moving something, if I need to be precise, if I use my arrow keys, now I can click on it and move it up pixel by pixel with my arrow keys, rather than with the mouse. And the arrow keys are a little more accurate to reposition things with great accuracy. Another feature with the layers is the fact that I can, let's say I click on this berries layer again, and I could just work with this layer, and I could say, let's go to enhance and convert to black and white, and let's just say scenic landscape is fine for the berries. Let's say OK, and you notice now I've changed just the berries layer to black and white. The rest of the image just stayed in color. If I don't like that, I have two options. I can do undo up here. I can click the undo button up here, or on my keyboard, if I do Control Z as in zebra, Control Z will undo what I just did. A good thing to keep in mind going forward. Also, something else with layers that you will keep in mind as you're going forward is, let's take my initials layer here, and if I go up here to show bounding box, okay, I have a bounding box around here. I can now take and drag these out, make them bigger. I could, in this case, drag this one down, make them skinnier if I wanted to. So I can individually adjust individual elements on the layers to tailor them to exactly what I want. Okay, fix that, turn my bounding box off, and I've made the adjustment there. So the layers are just an extremely important thing you want to keep in mind. And you also, if you're working with a multi-layer project, keep in mind that you want to name these layers so that you, as you're going forward, you can come back to, know exactly what's on each layer, which layer you're looking at, and what you want to do. And one final comment is, on these layers, these all have a little FX icon. That simply means that I've done some layer style work, which you're going to be doing on this project, to that element. For example, the berries have this embossed edge around them. Okay, if I go to the berries layer, and if I double click this icon right here, it says indicate layer styles. If I double click it, I come up with a dialog box that allows me to change the size of, let's say, the bevel. That's this raised edge here, the size of the bevel. So I can change the bevel, and I can change it immensely, or I can put it back, I think it was right around 10, I believe, exactly, maybe 50, something like that. Okay, so you have a variety of things you can make it something like that. So you can again, change individual elements, individual parts of this composition to your liking. I'm going to say cancel in this case. I don't want to save those changes, so it goes back to what I was working with originally. So go back there, and there I'm back to my original setup.